There was Knife to the Throat, and there's a one-horse trope. Is this my new favorite book? Oh my gosh, they are so cute and they're so good. I want to read everything that C.N. Crawford has published. Hello my friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori if you're new, and we are starting a weekend reading vlog, but not only a weekend reading vlog, we are doing a 48-hour romantasy readathon, and I'm so excited. I think I'm going to kick off officially my 48-hour readathon at 3 p.m. today because that's when we're starting reading sprints. Me and my friend Katie from Katie's Book Nook are hosting this 48-hour readathon. I really wanted to try to finish my reads from this past week before the weekend started so that I could have like a clean start, but this is the only straggler. However, the reading gods blessed me this morning because my audiobook hold on Livy came through. So I was already a third of the way through the book. I've been listening to it all this morning. It's pitched as a horror fantasy romance. It's YA. It has some dark undertones. It takes place with kind of an Italian-inspired society. It's not what I was expecting, but I'm really enjoying it. I tend to love books where there's a mystery to solve, and so our two main characters were childhood friends. The boy, Damien, had to go off to war, fight against this rebellion that's taking place, and our female lead, her name is Roz, stayed in the city. She is a disciple of these saints, and so she has this like magic. She hates being blessed. She considers it a curse. When he comes back from war, they are no longer friends. I expected more of a sense of hopelessness and like morally grayness. However, our two POVs are extremely moral. They're the ones that are really fighting for justice. The leaders of the society, they're evil. The relationships in this are really getting to me. It's so sweet. Damien is so in love with Roz. This probably is going to spill into the first little bit of the 48-hour readathon officially when it begins, but we're gonna finish it. This is gonna be the first book, and then I'm gonna decide what I wanna pick up next. It's almost 2 o'clock. Sprint's starting in an hour. I'm gonna run out and get my first pumpkin spice of the season. Yesterday was the first PSL day at Starbucks, and I didn't get anything yesterday. So I figured why not save the first PSL for the 48-hour romantasy-thon because immaculate vibes. So let's go do that. Pumpkin spice has been acquired and it is so delicious. I just get what did I get? A grande iced latte with oat milk and 4 pumps of pumpkin because I have to do non-dairy, even though I think that their pumpkin spice like syrup, I think it does have a little bit of dairy in it, but that's beside the point. Quickly wanted to go through my TBR because I've had to tweak it a little bit, but it's gonna be great. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be finishing Seven Faceless Saints. Probably on sprints, this is going to be my focus because I just want to finish it to be able to move on. Then me and my friend Sarah are buddy reading Frost by C.N. Crawford. This is a fantasy romance that you can find on Kindle Unlimited. I just bought the physical copy because I'm really excited for it. In this book, we follow our main character who has fallen on some really tough times. She walks in on her boyfriend cheating on her in her bed with another woman. So she decides to go and get drunk. Also, it's her birthday. So she is drunk, homeless, and pledging to stay single forever when a dangerously sexy Seelie King rolls through town. And I guess every generation, the king holds a competition for the Seelie Queen, except it's kind of like a deadly competition. So think of like deadly dating game. That's what this is giving. This time, for reasons he won't explain, Torin, who is the sexy Seelie King, is looking for a charade, not a real marriage, so it's giving fake dating slash fake marriage. And they make a deal, our main character and the Seelie King, but she actually has to compete in this competition, and he offers her $50 million to participate, but her competition will literally kill for the crown. Then I have Slaying the Shadow Prince. This is by Helen Schurer. I have zero idea how to say her last name, and I do apologize. This is another Kindle Unlimited. It has to do with a shadow daddy. It says perfect for fans of A Court of Silver Flames, The Bridge Kingdom, and King of Battle and Blood. It's an epic fantasy romance that has enemies to lovers, scorching spice, and a richly woven world of magic. Our female main character, her name is Drew Emerson. She's a noblewoman turned ranger, and she is dead set on getting vengeance. Her whole family was murdered by vicious shadow wraiths, and she is determined to defend her fallen kingdom. That means carving out the hearts of any dark creature that she comes across. Hailmer Starling, he's a celebrated warrior of the realms, and he has a dangerous secret. He is half wraith, kin to the creatures that are wreaking devastation on the world. When someone Drew cares about disappears, all signs point to Talamir's kind, but he's determined to prove he's no monster and to seek answers of his own. Begrudgingly, they pair up, they join forces to uncover the deadly truth. My strategy when I go into a readathon is to finish a couple like shorter books, and then once I get my confidence up, that's when I tackle my big chunky ambitious books. This is definitely a priority this weekend. I just don't know that I want to start off the readathon with her because she's 650-ish pages, maybe a little bit less. I don't know why I'm so intimidated and like scared to pick this one up. Everyone says that either Heir of Fire or Queen of Shadows is their favorite in the Throne of Glass series. It's not like I'm not going to be sleeping for 2 days. I will absolutely be sleeping, but I have nothing else to do this weekend besides read. Hi besties, I got the notification that I had a package, so I figured we would open it together because it is book mail. And I'm very excited for this one because it's Heavenly Bodies by Imani Eru. And this is our September book club pick for the Who Did This To You book club. It's a fantasy romance book club that I run on Fable. It's always linked in the description box below if you'd like to join us. I have heard nothing but amazing things about this book, so I literally cannot wait to read it. I wanted to do a little bit of an update because I only have 30 pages left of Seven Faceless Saints, and I have updates from what I had said previously. So I definitely understand why it's pitched as a horror fantasy. You don't get any of the horror, like more gruesome elements until the very end of the book. Like literally within the last quarter, like 75% of the book onwards, do you start to get those horror elements. I think that there's a second book in this series that's coming out, and I hope that we get more of those really gruesome details. However, I have loved how this plot developed. Like I mentioned, the relationships between the characters and the reasons behind their motives and the way that they are behaving the way that they do, I have found very believable. I think it's done really well. The romance is literally so sweet. I know I've said that like a million times, but there's moments, especially in the second half of the book, where you start to get more intimate moments between the love interests, and oh my gosh, they are so cute and they're so good. Okay, the second book is called Disciples of Chaos. It's supposed to come out February of 2024, and I think that it's only supposed to be a duology. Anyways, really strong start to the readathon. The sprints were so fun. If you joined the sprints and were in the chat, thank you so much. I have so much fun reading with y'all and talking with y'all about our books. So many folks are reading A Dowry of Blood, and oh my gosh, I could talk about that book forever. It is absolutely immaculate. Also, a bunch of people were reading Carissa Broadbent, this book specifically, and I'm like, I really need to get my life together and read Serpent and the Wings of Night and then get to this book. Also the novellas that are in this series as well. I can't wait. I've kind of been saving this for October because I just want the vampire vibes for October, but y'all are making me want to read this like as soon as possible. But it was so much fun. I'm going to take a quick break because Ross is going to come home from work in a couple minutes. We're gonna have dinner together, and then I'm going to finish Seven Faceless Saints. I'm so excited. And then my next book that I'm gonna read is Frost. My friend Sarah already started it, and she said that it's really fun, and she's up to chapter 4. So just finished Seven Faceless Saints. I'm going to give it a 4.5 as my final rating. It was really close to a 5-star. I can't put my finger on exactly what it is. We got a juicy murder mystery. The murders were very gruesome. I'm gonna stick by what I said, where I didn't really see the horror part of the horror fantasy until the very end. It gets gruesome in the creepiest and best ways. I'm definitely gonna read the second book in the series. And yeah, this was a good time. I'm like upset that it took me so long to actually pick up this book because I did really enjoy it. It is 9 o'clock. I am now going to start Frost, and I will try to check in once I'm like a good portion of the way through this book because it is kind of short. Good morning, besties. Happy Saturday. I'm halfway through Frost by C.N. Crawford. This is a book that I had to hold myself back from finishing in one sitting. Like, I am so obsessed with this. It's a low fantasy, half in the human world, and then we do transition into fairy for the dating game. The male love interest in this book, his name is Torin. He is a Seelie Fae King, and he is described as Henry Cavill from The Tudors. So immediately I was on the floor, like, passed away. This has been so much fun. It's so easy to read. I've ordered the second book. I think this is a duology. So I've ordered the second book that is called, I think, Ambrosia. Yes, the second book is called Ambrosia, second book in the Frost and Nectar series. And I think it's a duology. But C.N. Crawford has like a massive backlist, and I need to read more from this author. I've also seen that this book, they're releasing a graphic audiobook for it with like a full cast of characters and like sound effects and things like that. If you love watching reality TV dating shows, you will love this book because this is basically a fae reality dating show. There is a reality TV show in this book. It's so good. Our main character, Ava, is an absolute card. Like, she is so funny. I love that we get to flip between her POV and Torin's POV, and you can tell that Torin just finds her entertaining. Like, she just makes that man want to giggle. He cracks smiles. He's trying to fight it, and he keeps saying, like, I've picked you to like help you through this competition to win because I know that I'll never be able to fall in love with you. Right, yeah, okay, Torin, whatever you want to think. So I'm about to join sprints with Katie, and in order to try to be a good nugget and not just finish Frost on sprints, I'm going to switch to Queen of Shadows and see how I go with this. And then if I need a break, I'm gonna switch back to Frost and finish the remaining like 30 pages that I have in our section. Also, there will be no spoilers. I know that this is a book in a series, so if you haven't read Throne of Glass yet, don't worry. I'm gonna give like general updates and thoughts on this book. Hello, my friends. It is quite a bit later from my last check-in. Sorry, I just was eating an ice cream bonbon because I've hit a little bit of a reading wall today, which is not ideal, but I started reading Queen of Shadows. I am going to take the sticker off. This is a different edition. I was on sprints earlier with Katie and I was reading the old edition that I had, that I still have. But I found that it was really giving me a headache and it was making me sneeze a lot, and I am super allergic to dust, and so I feel like the old edition that I have with the old cover wasn't making me feel good to read it, so I did go to Target and I picked up a new edition. I'm also debating whether or not I want to start annotating this book, kind of this book going forward, because so much is happening in terms of like plot points. There's been a lot of recap from the last book, Heir of Fire, which is amazing because it's been like 2 months at this point since I've read Heir of Fire, so I have really appreciated all of like the recaps of what happened and where we're going with it moving forward. This book has been more of a toll on my brain, and so I'm up to page 132. I'm on chapter 16. I had to take a little bit of a break and I started watching like some YouTube videos and stuff like that. Also, just for reference, it's now like 9:30 at night, but I'm gonna stay up for a while and read because I want to try to finish Frost tonight. I have an ambient room right now. It's called Sleeping in Hogsmeade, and it's kind of like a spin-off of like Harry Potter music. It's just really cute and fun, and I think it fits the vibes for Frost really well because, I don't know, even though fairy in this book is definitely dangerous and the fae are deadly, this competition that our girly pup Ava has found herself in is super, super dangerous. People are getting like mutilated. They just did a running race and people were having like their feet cut off, and I was like, oh my gosh. Girly Pop came out of it with a collapsed lung, and I was like, okay. So the stakes are really low in this book. We're going to push through this reading wall that I have found myself up against. Hello, besties.
It would help if I held the book the right way.
I finished Frost last night. I gave this I think 4 stars. I want to read everything that C.N. Crawford has published. The sword fighting scenes in this book were everything that I ever wanted. The training scenes, there's a lot of tension. The only thing, I was expecting to get some spice in this book and there was no spice, which was a little bit of a letdown, but I kind of saw that as the story was going on, it really would not have made any sense at all if there was spice in it, so I'm not mad about it. I hope that in the second book we do get some, because the tension was tensioning. There were some parts where it was talking about Seelie Fae parties, especially Beltane, and how wicked and wild it would get. And so I have high hopes for the second book. I have just started reading Slaying the Shadow Prince on my Kindle this morning. I'm trying to get a little ways into it before we start sprints in about an hour, our last sprints of the 48-hour readathon. Last night I didn't end up reading anything else of Queen of Shadows, but I'm not mad about it. I think what I'm going to do with this book, because it's starting to become, I don't know why, I'm just like not in the mood to read it. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. It's getting right into the action. I mean, I'm on page 130, but now there's like a big action point that's happening, so I'm not bored with it. I don't know why my brain is just like, absolutely not, we don't want to understand this. So I'm just gonna put it down for today. I want to try, this might be a very lofty goal because this book is just slightly over 400 pages, but I want to try to finish Slaying the Shadow Prince today. I'm really hoping that there's spice in this book. I don't know why. I just feel like when I get spice in books, I can read them super fast, and so if there's not spice, I don't know that I'll be able to finish it today, but I'm hopeful. We're gonna put this out into the universe. I'm going to finish at least 1 book, if not 2. Boom. I am 5% into this book. Already, our female main character and our male main character have met each other. There was knife to the throat, and there's a one-horse trope. Is this my new favorite book? Please don't mind the crazy bun and what's happening. This is what I look like after, how long has it been? Like 5 hours straight of just reading. I am so obsessed with Slaying the Shadow Prince. Helen, it's like she wrote this book just for me. I am hanging off of every word. I'm eating this up. I love the banter. I love everything so much. We've gotten a couple spicy scenes so far and I have just been dying. I'm officially halfway through. I'm at the 200 page mark. So I'm gonna take a little break. I'm kind of tired, so I only have 2.5 hours left. I've also looked up all of Helen Schurer's backlist and I really want to order her book Blood and Steel, I think it's called. That's the series that takes place in the world that she wrote this book. So from what I understand, Katie and I were talking about this a little bit on Sprints. There's all of these books that are written, my hair is just absolutely wild and I do apologize. There's all of these books that are written that are like slaying the Shadow Prince, slaying the Frost King, slaying the Vampire Conqueror, like all of these books, and they're kind of a collaboration between a ton of different authors. They all, I think, don't quote me on this, but all the books take place in a world that's already established in one of the author's fantasy romance series, but they're all standalone books, and it's so interesting. I didn't realize it before today, like before I talked to Katie about it, because I already had Slaying the Frost King on one of my TBRs. I hope to get to it probably closer to winter time, but I didn't realize that it was this whole like romantasy author collaboration. And it's so cool because basically when you read one of these books and it's a standalone, you get introduced to this author's writing style, to their fantasy romance, and then it's almost like a stepping stone to then look at all of their other books, or at least the series that they wrote that takes place in the same world as this standalone. Like, it's so cool. Now I really want to read more from Helen Schurer. I'm still not sure if I'm saying her last name correctly. I'm probably not, and I'm so sorry. But anyways, I'm going to be finishing this book tonight. I'm absolutely loving it. I just need to take a little bit of a brain break from reading, and I will update once I've finished. To do a final check-in for this 48-hour readathon. We're gonna go through how many books I finished, how many pages I finished, and overall like thoughts and feelings. I feel that this 48-hour readathon was super successful, even though, I mean, I've read more books in like a timed 24-hour readathon than I did in this 48-hour readathon. That's not the point. The point is to have fun and have fun reading and read books that you love, and that's absolutely what I did this weekend. This was one of the most fun reading weekends that I've had in a really long time. So thank you so much to everyone who joined Sprints, who's doing the readathon. Talking about books with y'all, it just makes me giggle and smile, and I love it so much. So I finished 2 books. I was so close to finishing 3, but I'll tell you what happened in just a second. I read just over 1,200 pages. I read 1,222 222 as an angel number, but I had so much fun. Okay, so the books that I finished started with Seven Faceless Saints, ended up giving it 4 stars. It's a book that I've been saying I was gonna read for a million bajillion years, and I finally read it. So even just finishing this book, I feel very, very proud of myself. Then we had Frost. C.N. Crawford is an author that I have fallen in love with from this one book. Just delightful writing style to read, and it was so easy. Amazing. Loved it so much. One of the reasons Frost has been so much fun is because the world really reminds me of Elfhame. They have similar fae, and the different fae act or have their own characteristics. So for example, there's red caps. I think that's what they're called, red caps in this book, which are a particular type of fae. If you're familiar with Holly Black and Elfhame, there's red caps in there as well. And when they battle or kill an enemy, they wear these caps and they dip it in their enemy's blood and wear it. It's a symbol of their bloodthirstiness, and the way that their world is so magical. I mean, it's fairy, so it's super cottage core, it's very goblin core, but also super, super brutal. The trials in this book, there were actually stakes. The stakes are real. They feel real. It's not just like, okay, I know this is gonna work out because she's our main character. Like, girly gets hurt, and I was here for it. So I was loving that. I gave this 4 stars as well. Now, on to the 2 books that I didn't finish, one of which I knew I wasn't gonna finish, but I surprised myself with how much I actually read of this book. So I ended up reading 360 pages of Queen of Shadows. I ended up getting the audiobook for this. I realized that if you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 month free of Audible, and I was like, and 2 free credits, and I was like, you know what? I've become very dependent on the audiobooks for this series, and I was really questioning that if I didn't have the audiobooks, would I be able to finish the Throne of Glass series? Probably not. Not because they're not good, and not because I'm not enjoying them. I absolutely am, but I don't know, there's just some series that I get dependent on the audiobooks for, and that's what happened. So we're using our free Audible trial for the audiobook for Queen of Shadows. I'm really enjoying it. What ended up happening the last day of this readathon on Sunday, after sprints, because on sprints I was reading physically, Slaying the Shadow Prince, absolutely loving it, but then I was like, you know what, I kind of need a reading break. I had just got Audible. I was like, you know what, let me start redoing my Animal Crossing island that I haven't touched in like 2 years and listen to this audiobook, and that swiftly, with a quickness, took over the rest of the readathon. And so I didn't return to Slaying the Shadow Prince, even though I only had like an hour and a half left to finish the book, because I was just having such a blast redoing my Animal Crossing island while listening to Queen of Shadows. So I'm more than halfway through this book at this point. I know it kind of looks like I'm exactly halfway. I'm slightly over the halfway mark. I really like Manon. I'm not happy with like what's going on with the witches at this point in the story. I think it's pretty like brutal what's happening, particularly what's happening with the yellow legs and the witchlings. I'm extremely unsettled, but I find that storyline of this book super interesting. There's a lot happening with like Aelin and the gang, so I won't even go into that. Dorian is literally breaking my heart because he doesn't deserve what's happening to him. I think that the relationship with Arabin in this book, like, that's been off-putting because it's not what I got from the other books in terms of like the relationship dynamic. And now he's just giving massive creepy vibes. Really enjoying all of the separate storylines that are going on. It's intense. Like, there's a lot happening. I feel like I don't understand half of most of what's happening, but I'm kind of just along for the ride, and I am finding it super juicy and really enjoying it. So this became the focus of like the last day of the readathon, and I fully intended to finish Slaying the Shadow Prince, but I haven't yet. And then the last book of this readathon that I was reading on my Kindle is Slaying the Shadow Prince. This is on Kindle Unlimited. I'm obsessed with this book. It feels like it was written just for me. The fact that we got a one-horse trope, the fact that it was knife to the throat, the banter was really good. The only thing is, I think it kind of came down a star rating for me because it does get insta-lovey. Like, I was loving the first, we'll call it the first third of the book. I wish that they had maintained that dynamic for a little bit longer of a time period. However, this is a standalone fantasy romance. It's introducing you to a world that Helen has written in other books. I'm saying Helen because I feel really bad that I still don't know how to pronounce her last name, and I need to work on that. But it is a standalone, and so things do need to move quickly, especially with the romance. There is spice in it as well, so I think the love story needed to move a little bit quicker to get us the spice that she wanted to give, and I am not complaining, but I will say it transitions super quickly from what you're getting in the beginning to maybe 40% of the way through the book, about the halfway point. That's when things really start to feel a bit insta-lovey. Not mad at it. I'm thinking it's gonna be a 4-star, but I have to get to the end to find out. And I'm definitely going to be ordering the official like first book in this series of this world that she introduced us to, which is called Blood and Steel, which is the first book in the Legends of Thesmar series. I also heard that Blood and Steel, there's a beautiful, wonderful, glorious who did this to you like line / trope, and I can't wait. The fact that I found Helen Schurer and I fell in love with C.N. Crawford during this weekend-a-thon, I'm so happy. Have I read more pages in the past? Have I finished more books in the past? Absolutely. Have I had more fun? Questionable. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, friends. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. If you're looking for more from me, feel free to follow at ROMANTASY-a-thon on Instagram. That is the Romantasy Readathon that I host. We do a week-long readathon once a year, and then I'm trying to sprinkle in some weekend-a-thons as well throughout the rest of the year so that we can read fantasy romance together. It's my favorite genre. It has my entire heart and soul, and it just brings me so much joy. So I will catch you in the comments, friends, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!